active. 2 Marines still wanting to be a hero. Another Overlord cover, but just 1 Hellion. It wouldn't take many Lings to clear this up, but it is just shy of speed actually being done. And Scarlett wasn't expecting to have to build any more. Yeah, there we go. Any more Lings, you know, right from the get-go.
Oh.
So another Overlord, a supply block for Scarlett, and Cure is in fact going for an armory. I mean, I don't know if this was his plan from the get-go, and he knew he'd be able to kill that Overlord, but I love the plan after the fact. He's not going to be scouted. That's kind of it. My theory about Hellbat pushes is either they're a surprise and they work in either the first 5 seconds, or they don't really work at all, honestly. Like, it really does have to start with the first push, but this is always a nice little add-on, something that Scarlett actually isn't necessarily paying attention to. I think they would have been better as Hellions, but I sympathize when Terran just put them in Hellbats.
I think you're absolutely right. The fact that those Lings were on the other side of the map as well, nothing to defend them at all.
Boy, oh, don't. I saw them go between the mineral and the extractor. Oh, okay, but she pulls them away. I mean, both of them paying a little bit of attention to their side of the map and their opponents. Might have missed a couple of things they wouldn't have otherwise, but okay, calm down. Things are going to be cleaned up. And medevac is kind of in a sketchy area. That's a lot of queens. Ooh, barely get out of there.
All things said and done, I think Scarlett handled that pretty well. Like, she didn't lose too many drones, and the mining time was definitely gone, but the fact that she sent the Lings across the map to counterattack and only received that amount of damage, that was well played by her. And maybe Cure kind of missed the mark a little bit on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cure does get that 3rd CC, but the Lings finally finding success as they get into that natural, and they're going to be doing a decent amount of damage. There's absolutely nothing here. There's no army. They even get into the main base. Scarlett can't even believe her luck almost moved away from the main base. More SCVs will go down. That really offsets Cure's timing, and also, if she didn't know beforehand, she absolutely knows the situation now.
Absolutely, and look at that supply from Scarlett, just ever growing. 150 to 102, 70 drones as well, all the freedom in the world, and this push from Cure. I mean, if she didn't know about it before, she absolutely does now, and she's got more than enough to deal with this, unless he comes out with some marvelous positioning. And this creep spread, it has been pretty tame so far for Scarlett standards, but holy crap.
That is a lot of roaches. Finding the tank immediately. Cure not fast enough to try and pick that up is, I think, yeah, I was going to say, you have to pick up. You have to go home. There's no stand to be made here, knowing that there's going to be just more roaches, and even the queens still able to defend. There's no overseer, though, so the banshees are a couple of bullies in the sky, but even they know they can only last so long. They actually get back home and defend at this point. Cure knows that he's in mega trouble. 80 supply difference, and Cure lost a tank. He's forced to hole up in the 2-base situation, which is just not a good situation. Even if it might means he holds, he lives, it's not going to be a good life.
Yeah, are you really living, Zombiegrub?
It's a half-life.
You're not really living, yeah. I mean, it's a terrible situation, and Scarlett, yeah, she just wants to go, and I think it's a pretty damn good call for her, because no matter how she trades here, her economy behind it's amazing. She's got such a big bank, but she just has to be a little bit careful. There's so many Ravagers on the front line. All the Ravagers get absolutely mowed down here. That is not how you want to do it, Scarlett. No.
No, not at all. The thing
21
is,
drones?
yeah. All right, then. All right. The thing is that I think she could actually take a massive loss to her roaches specifically and still be fine, but the fact that her Ravagers got pushed to the front line, that is pricier than Scarlett was willing to pay. I think she knew she wasn't going to take necessarily the best trade, but if she really could just go ahead and get that tank, then maybe she could break through, but that was an overestimation of how good her army actually was, or how poor, I suppose, the Cure's army was, and that is one way that Cure does get back into the game, is that things happen immediately. Things happen fast. He defended fast, so his 3rd CC actually comes down, and kind of, for his build, a good time.
What a bizarre fight there from Scarlett. Like, those roaches didn't have to be where they were. It felt like one of those things where it's like, you play a ladder game, you know you're so far ahead, and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to go with everything, right? But now, these supplies are a little bit deceiving, because 85 supply of drones versus 49 SCVs. Cure could potentially do something. Its 2-2 also is a little bit better time than Scarlett's, and this Roach Ravager army, even though it's, decently sized, it's, I don't want to say it's on a clock to speak, because she is getting lurk attack, but, and the lurk attack as well, along with the Vipers, it's crucial.
Yeah, it is, I think, in this game going to be a bit of an unbeatable army. If Cure can't keep Scarlett on her side of the map, eventually Scarlett goes, yeah, I have like 8 lurkers, let's just go across the map. That's what I don't think can turn into a bad engagement. At that point, Scarlett does just win, kind of pacing-wise. But maybe Cure can do just a billion drops and hope to, once again, knocks Scarlett off her feet, off her rhythm. Does grab the Hydralisk Den, which is a bit annoying, but, you know, upgrade's finished, has to remake it to actually making the lurkers, but it's not really the end of the world. It is more about hoping that this distracts her so much that she makes more mistakes.
I'm always curious about Terran upgrades with their armory when they're in this kind of situation, because it's very specific about what upgrades you get in which matchup and against which units. If you just get +1 on those tanks, which isn't expensive, it actually means you 2-shot the roaches instead of 3-shotting them. So I'm a bit curious as to why Cure didn't go for that, but I mean, he is broke as a joke in this game, and he is kind of hanging on, but supplies, he is creeping up, and I don't want to get hopeful, Zombiegrub, because right now I'm like, Zombiegrub has, or rather, Scarlett has everything going for her right now, and yeah, it's just going to be a really rough one for Cure.
It's 2012 all over again. There's a woman on the broadcast, and they're like, is it Scarlett? Is it Scarlett? All right, so we got a main drop now killing actually a decent amount of drones. This is the one that also killed the Hydralisk Den, so kind of overall in a more normal, even game, probably worth it, but not really enough to tear Scarlett down. She has been maxed out. She's got plenty of bank to work with. Some of her upgrades are finished, including some lurker upgrades. She is just going to go for the attack. And the Parasitic Bomb just did a massive amount of damage. Another one, similar, would actually kill most of these medevacs. There's really not that many lurkers. This is still an army that maybe theoretically Cure could defeat. Give me 6 or 8 lurkers, and I'm a little more suspicious. But Scarlett really does want this game to end. She keeps on taking these engagements that are just maybe a little bit too over-eager. But because the overall situation is her with a 4,000, almost 2,000 gas bank, she's like, oh well, that didn't quite work, but I'll get them next time.
Yeah, I mean, all these fights, what's the resources lost tab at this game, Niall? Let's have a look at this. So, yeah, Scarlett's definitely not been trading as efficiently as Cure. Cure are only losing 1,700 worth of gas, which is a big deal, but the resource, or rather the income graph, must be insanely advantage for Scarlett as well this game, which, yeah, the whole game's just been so far ahead.
Yeah, jeez. But this is...
Oof. This is damage.
See, Cure's gotten to this point where I think he can really play around. Again, only on the offensive. Once Scarlett gets to 8 lurkers and finds Cure's important 4th base or his army on the defensive, then I think Scarlett straight up wins. But as long as Cure is able to play around with a mass bio army with 3-3 and medevacs dropping left, right, and center, then more power to Cure as he's going a little bit Super Saiyan right now. This drop just blitzing through the main base, picking up, getting out of there with a very few Hydras. Only 1 medevac goes down, but oh no, there's the rest of the Hydras, and the Parasitic Bomb, the abducts actually come down. Either way, it looked like Cure's drop was eventually going to be cleaned up. Question is, did it do enough damage? A hatchery, the main base, the lurker den, back into the main base for another cancel. Cure's drop actually did not stop, even with that little contain, because just a little segment of reinforcements pulled Scarlett's attention away.
For a moment there, Cure supply was actually ahead, and I know that's kind of a lie just because of the bank going on, but he is really making a game out of this. And, you know, he had no right to, but the fact that he's doing all this with just bio and drops and just doing it in fantastic style, but there's going to be one point where you poke the bear just one time too many, and Scarlett's going to move out across the map. But against this, I love the turrets as well that he's got for the Vipers, meaning that they can't run in as willy-nilly, and maybe for the potential of burrowed roaches as well. Yeah,
sure, yeah. Definitely the Vipers are just a little bit of an extra annoyance there, and, you know, straight up could grab a couple of kills on units that take a little bit longer to remake. They're very expensive. They have to be remade, and they have to soak up the energy again. So I really like that addition. And minerals is something that Cure, I mean, he's never been maxed out. He's never really built a bank, but I think a couple hundred minerals worth is quite useful. You're right, though. As soon as Cure overextends and Scarlett still has an amazing army, the counterattack would be absolutely brutal. But now Cure is bringing over a couple of tanks, less about just dropping every which way and more about making a powerful statement on one side of the map. Left side is completely dominated by Scarlett. She had most of her army over there, but that does mean that Cure is going to pick up another hatchery kill and a couple of lurkers. 3 lurkers, actually, as the concave is a little too good right there. But Scarlett finally makes her way across the map. Is going to find this orbital, no contest there, and possibly move on into the third base.
Yeah, I mean, picking off those tanks like she did was really good. Great concave by Cure, and Scarlett getting a little bit caught out here against this army, and the supplies are deceiving, man. Like, they are super deceiving. They're both just butchering each other on each side of the map, but whoa. Scarlett's got a massive bank, but where's the lava?
Oh, no, I don't know about this. I was just going to say she had 5 larvae, and it popped to 7, I suppose, because then she just made 7 drones, but she kind of needs that larva. Not even, like, she does need drones. She doesn't remake her bases, something she can eventually get to. But I'm really concerned right now. Cure is not stopping. It's pedal to the metal for him, as he's going to find another opportunity, maybe left or right, but either way, always going to have the position to just back away. Just leave. Just get up in the medevacs. Just stim backwards, but still have your army on Scarlett's side of the map. And Scarlett's gone from a position of, I can do whatever I want, I can have a couple of bad fights, to saying, I kind of need to, draw in a little bit. I need to be like, wait a second. I need to worry now. I think she really has to worry. Cure somehow, I guess, is natural. He's only on a couple of command centers. But Cure is mining and still has a strong army, especially if he can find a concave on top of these lurkers. If this base is going to go down, Cure is not even going to try and defend it. He's going to go for an attack with a lot of his army. Oh, I think maybe both attacks. Down the center, Scarlett goes. Does she see the left side? She's going to come in, try and defend. But Cure's brought a lot of army here.
It's getting really sad for Cure because he's only got 2 orbitals to rely on right now for the scans.
Yeah.
Oh, those Vipers! That was brutal. That is
Nice.
a massive thwomp to Scarlett's power.
Yeah, and she's taking some of these engagements kind of without the lurkers a little bit, so a lot of that roach line fodder has gone down, something that she could have afforded for about 17 minutes of this game, but now at 20 minutes she's actually going to have difficulty affording protection for her lurkers. They're going to be basically protecting themselves, and at a count of 10 they do kind of protect themselves, to be fair. But all it takes is a bad split or a bad concave, and Scarlett's army could still be in trouble. Cure has really made a game out of this. You could argue that Scarlett was a little too loosey-goosey with the way that she's played this out. So many of her drones going to go down to the right side, as well as another canceled hatchery. I don't know, man. Like, I still think that Scarlett has that army that should just win when it gets on top of something important. But if it just is constantly back at home, then that's not really getting her very much.
Cure absolutely showing his class here in this game. I mean, he's been playing very Poltesque, like 2 armies out on the map, both doing amazing stuff, sniping main bases here, there, and everywhere. I mean, this army of Scarlett is powerful for sure, but Cure just playing run around the rosy.
Yeah. I think that finally she has found something. She's found an engagement, right? One where she absolutely will win it. Oh, but here comes the rest of the army, but Blinding Clouds come down as well. Cure is going to have to tap out. That is what Cure is doing. Back to game 1, 3 CC, 1 gas.
Weird opening, though, as well. Like, how many Marines does he have on the map now? Okay, a Viking here. So, okay. So the 2 Marines, that's normal for, like, denying your scouting. But then a Viking follow-up. Like, this build is kind of greedy, in the sense that he's going to be on 1 gas he was on 1 gas for a lot longer, but that means he's probably going to head into the 3 racks much faster along with the upgrades, because skipping that Banshee or like a Liberator or something, maybe he gets a Liberator afterwards, but it's very ballsy, because if he went up against any sort of roach pressure here, he'd be in a lot of trouble. You can see the mid-game game plan coming alive for Cure with what he wants to achieve.
Yes. It's more so about that, as Scarlett also isn't adding any big swell of Lings or even adding in a Roach Warren, transition over, because she has played Blackburn with Roaches before. But we've also seen her play Ling, Baneling, Muta. Sometimes that Muta timing can still really surprise players. Feels like more and more Ling, Baneling, Hydra, especially the way that we've seen so many Serral TVZs in the last couple of weeks. Hellions do try to go into that 3rd base, but it will not be a repeat of Scarlet time, as she also deflects the Liberator pretty well.
Yeah, certainly. And Cure did this in oh, that Queen's actually blocking the Spore Crawler. Naughty.
Off with her head.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Off with your head, Queen. She does.
Oh, and it got brute, like a last drone there as well. I mean, that Liberator maybe could have done more, but okay, we're going to keep our eyes open for how many scans Cure does this game to deny creep, because that was 3. He did 1 at the top, 1 in the middle bit, and then 1 on the bottom here. So absolutely, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to how much emphasis goes on the lack of, or how much creep denial he goes for.
That was a big scan. That was like a perfect in-the-middle scan of all the creep.
And again, look, just for a little bit of info there, just denying, making Scarlett not feel safe.
That seems like it could be really abusive, isn't as abusive if the Zerg player is mentally aware of it, basically, which she certainly is. Plus, now that she has mutas, so she is going for this, then she can make sure that doesn't actually become ever a problem.
You're looking at the scans, right? Like, it's just been nothing but denying vision.
Yeah, he did drop 2 mules.
Oh, okay.
I will say that.
To be
not
fair.
all scans.
But yeah, it's really cool to see. Like, he really wants to make Scarlett's life miserable. In Scarlett's vision, like, she's so good at creep spread, but look at this. That bottom avenue on the map where most fights kind of happen, she has no idea what's going on there. So these Mutas, they can't play as aggressive as they want, and now she's got to worry about these Hellions and this very vulnerable gold as well. But she's going to utilize the bottom of the map now, which is very cool.
Right, and there's no missile turrets. As I was saying, sometimes it can be a real surprise. Medivacs are going to fly in. I don't think in response to this, but just kind of coincidentally timed perfectly. So the Mutas are forced away. One already gets killed. Going to take some freebie Hellions down with them and head into that third, just shy of the missile turret finishing. So a couple of SCVs will be her reward. Not as much as I think it could have been. Those were going to be surprise Mutas, but still, now Cure knows that's something else he has to consider. Is one, where are the Mutas, and two, how many? How much are you going to dedicate to this?
Yeah, I mean, as the Muta player, you want to be a bit more ahead of this, or ahead than this, but as I say that, Scarlett did drone up a lot getting this going, and upgrade-wise, despite going for the Mutas, she's not that far behind in upgrades. 1-1's about to finish, and she's going up more drones as well. I love how greedy she's being behind all this, because, yeah, you're with Mutas, you kind of want that. You buy yourself a little bit of space, a breathing room. They're not great in the direct fight, but buying yourself time. But that creep spread isn't getting going down the bottom.
One Muta goes down.
Could have been worse, could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse, especially with that slow zone. That was the retreat path, but it is okay. She's not dedicating too much to the Mutas either, so it's not going to be a humongous Ling, Baneling, Muta swell chilling. So probably doesn't know where they are. Oh, there they are.
Right in his face, but oh my goodness, those Mutas, they do regenerate over time, but maybe Cure's going to use this moment here where they are all so weak to just go, go, go. And I think it might be the right call, you know?
I think so. I mean, it's still pre-Hive, as in the Hive is done, but all the upgrades haven't even been started. Well, okay, they just started, but they haven't kicked in. The Ultras haven't kicked in. This is still Scarlett on a lair-based army against Cure, maxed out with Marine, Marauder, or Thor, not Hellions. Bit of a lag spike there. Hopefully the players didn't feel it as the engagement is going to be coming in. Scarlett coming in from a lot of different directions, something that Cure I don't think was expecting. Has even more Banelings rolling forward, and Cure has actually just been completely cleaned up. I think it was really overly aggressive. A lot of his army was just thrown across creep that had not been cleared up in an attempt to get to that gold base, and that was a bit of a failure for Cure.
Considering how badly some of the fights were for Scarlett in Game 2, which is the game she won, she's been so much better at just picking the right moment here when Cure is kind of off guard, and she hasn't really fought much off creep whatsoever either, and she's done a good job of fighting back for that creep in the middle of the map. I mean, the bottom avenue, I'm actually a bit surprised that Cure didn't take advantage of this more, because here, he did so much work to clear up the creep there, but never fought over there.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult for the Terran, right? The fourth base, if that is the only thing you're thinking of and you're pushing from the fourth base, then that's a good attack path that also defends one of your most important bases. But if you're thinking a little bit longer game, you really want to get to this gold base, then as soon as you pick a path on Blackburn that's either bottom or top, not mid, that's the other location is where the Zerg with a very mobile army is going to be headed. So I think you always got to consider where your opponent's attack paths also are. At this point, Cure has tried to go out on the map twice. Both times been beaten back, especially that last time was pretty brutal for him. It might be time to start thinking about defending against Ultras, considering them at the very least. And I think Cure is still set up to do that, even getting some of those planetary upgrades.
Like, they both haven't skimped too much on getting the right army together, because, I mean, that is a lot of Marauders ready for these Ultralisks. I mean, overall, Cure's army is about as good as it gets when it comes to this just bio phase with Widow Mines and stuff. But Scarlett, now she's the one in control, and she can start darting around with a pretty juicy force on the bottom here as well.
There it is, right? Cure went top, and Scarlett said, okay, I'll go with the bottom with a couple of units. Now, that does leave one of these hatcheries undefended, but as long as she doesn't commit to a defense and loses it, giving up the hatchery is not one of her big worries. She can easily replace that when she consolidates, whereas Cure, affording the SCVs, affording the extra command center, and affording, again, to split his attention so drastically top and bottom, I think it's harder for the Terran, especially since Scarlett has double the bank.
I do feel that Scarlett's getting herself into a really good position here, but she has to be careful with these engagements here. This is off creep. This isn't her whole army at all, and she definitely didn't trade very well there, but of course, something else going on here where she takes out the big swell of reinforcements. But how many Ultralists just died here? She's got 10 on the way.
3. She didn't have that many to begin with, but 10 Ultras remade instantly. Also finish up their speed boosts as well. They already have that 3/3 upgrade in chitinous plating. Scarlett will be able to envelop this army with mostly Ultras as long as she actually does get the envelop, as long as she gets the surround. She comes in just a conga line of ultras. This is an army that Cure can take on. Not a whole lot of Lings, not a whole lot of Banelings. The Muta's only really helping out a tiny bit. It is kind of a conga line of ultras. Cure is going to micro back here with a beautiful concave as the ultras come in and just get ripped to shreds, even with the help of the chance fuses. And Scarlett's army is just ill-equipped to deal with Cure, paying attention, slightly off of creep, ready to micro, ready to burst down these ultras. And Scarlett needs more ultras, needs more Lings, and there finally more ultras arrive, and Cure is going to be sent packing. But it was the initial engagement that can be so scary about relying on ultras, right? Because you can target fire each one down individually pretty quickly. But finally, the numbers came in, Scarlett's Remax came in, and Cure is now down 50 supply.
Wow, look at this. These ultras maybe getting a little ahead of themselves, but look at the supply. Scarlett's still pretty close to maxed out here. I love the transition to Corruptors as well, because you're never going to be able to deal with those in the sky along with everything in the ground. Scarlett's running away with this game.
Yeah, a couple of Widow Mines helping the ultras out here a little bit as we get a transition, which is a little bit premature and also not our game at all. That's really awkward. But guaranteed, guys, Scarlett is winning. 40 supply still ahead as we get our game back. 18 SCVs went down. Cure went from kind of hoping for a good engagement to now desperately wishing and praying for an amazing engagement, which Scarlett just isn't going to give him. The transition should be the nail in the coffin.
It felt like that allowed Scarlett to get so comfortable in this game. Despite everything saying otherwise, like the creep spread being denied, the Muta's really granted her this kind of window where she could be aggressive like she wanted to instead of being defensive. And seeing those Brood Lords, I'm just waiting for Cure's face right now. It's like, huh? Oh my goodness! After you just spent like 20 Ultralists at me?
Yeah, there was a lot of ultras, but you know, Scarlett's economy not really being touched so much in this game. She even manages to have that triangle base, the one where she's pushing from, up and running, totally defended. That's that's a bad sign for the Terran, unless they have the entire top side, which Cure does not even the top left. Finally going to float over there, I would suspect, as he desperately tries to get some Vikings onto the field, hopes and prays that she doesn't have a lot of Corruptors to cover her Brood Lords, and is finally moving out in the map. He's got to do this. Cure has got to cause some distraction, a little bit of a trade of bases, not an actual base race, but even that's not really working. Banelings come in here, even tackle some of those Marauders, do get split against at the end, and Cure still holds on to only a 30 supply deficit, and that's not an army too, but the Brood Lords are a real problem.
You know what's super cute for the Brood Lords as well? They've actually got 2-1 upgrades here, along with the Corruptors, just because the first going for the Mutas with the upgrades. I mean, how does Cure deal with this? Well, he won't. He's going to go for everything else, and I do love this decision by him, but he's got a long road to go.
It's a familiar position for Terrans who have played since Wings of Liberty, I would say that much, and Cure's been here for a long time, where they're like, I wasn't prepared for Brood Lords. Do everything else except actually engage into them, and that's something that Cure is doing effectively, as maybe, again, the Vikings can be built up to a number that can contest what is only 5 Corruptors. Like, maybe if he pulls everything away, the Brood Lords will be left unattended. So far, not really working out here, but now it's a question of can he even escape? The whole army is up in the top right. There aren't any Vipers, so a pickup is still very possible. The army's getting low. He's got to pick up soon, and there it is. And they're going to boost away as the Brood Lords continue to wreak havoc in Cure's main base. There's a couple of Vikings that Cure's able to get, but he got supply blocked.
Oh, I love
so I think that's the big problem, right? And now, yeah, the Brood Lords just wait this one out with the help of the Queens.
You know what's funny? Like, Scarlett didn't even need to chase down the army and hunt it out, but she's just so bloodthirsty for this win. And Cure, I mean, it's looking bleak. Super bleak. He's still mining very well, and he's still got this kind of, what's the word where you have like refugees almost just trying to find something to do? But yeah, I mean, Cure's doing what he can here, but he's just met one scary Zerg in the late game here.
I do wonder if Cure hadn't gotten supply blocked, could he have gotten to maybe 10 Vikings? Because it took a long time to destroy the starport. And then could he have actually started taking down the Corruptors and the Brood Lords? He would have also had to have used the army to take down the Queens, yes, but I think that was one of his plans alongside distracting and doing the base race. But that part didn't work out. The base race kind of didn't work out enough at the very least, even though a lot of hatcheries died. And now Cure was looking to, I guess, just drop and decides, you know what? That's not going to work. Never mind.
Yeah, those medevacs. And GG Scarlett with the upset victory here, but she played okay.